Hey there, Axie fans. Welcome back to another Axie Tuesday. Today, we're going to dive into the brain of a content creator I've been excited to get to know a little bit better for a long time. I got to meet him in person in New York and feel some of that amazing energy that he puts out in person, and it definitely translates in the content. MYSTIC7, welcome to Axie Tuesday. How are you, buddy?
It's a pleasure. I'm doing great. Again, good energy. Just had a long weekend, so trying to, refresh a little bit here, but like excited, exciting times for gaming, for NFT gaming, for Axie, for Ron, for Pokemon. It's just good times right now. So a lot to focus on, a lot to be excited about.
Absolutely, man. Not enough hours in the day. I'm excited to hear your perspective on all these different aspects of content creation, the future of Axie, especially with Origin around the corner, because you've got a really cool lens, right? You've made a lot of content, mostly for Pokemon Go, if I'm not mistaken. I'd love to dive right into your origin story. I want to hear more about how you started making content and what a day in the life for a Pokemon Go content creator looks like, because that's not a game I normally associate with people that have hundreds of thousands of YouTube subscribers. So I definitely want to pick your brain and hear about what's your secret, dude? What's the magic sauce that you got going on?
The secret sauce. It's grind and dedication. No, I mean, it's, I've been doing YouTube for a minute, so it's definitely one of those things to where I was lucky enough to start really, really early. I started in 2014, 2012, making really cringy vlogs. It was pretty bad. I made sure to bury that channel on YouTube. No one else is going to find that, but that was bad back. But I've always been really, really interested in I guess I've been interested in creating, when I was a kid, I love Legos and Bionicles. I love looking at a picture and then having a bunch of pieces and making something out of it, and I see video content creation as the same thing, to where when you make videos, you have an idea, you have an image in your head of what the video might be or what kind of video you want to make, and then you go through this cool creative process of filming it and then taking all your footage into Final Cut or whatever editing program you have and piecing it together and adding edits and background music. It's a fun creative process, and at the end of it, you have this beautiful video or Lego structure, or whatever. So I've always really liked that. So I started years ago, back when I was a sophomore in high school, and then I started making Clash of Clans content. Is where I began. That must have been it's almost 10 years now. What year is it? It's 2020.
Wow.
Yeah, 2013-ish, 2014-ish.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Right. So started making YouTube videos on that, and it was just a hobby. Again, I just liked making videos. It was just fun. It wasn't a job back then, and even back then, doing YouTube and content creation just really wasn't something that you would pursue as a job. Especially gaming. It was very new. I just enjoyed it, just grinding out content, and then my channel just kind of caught fire. The game Clash of Clans blew up. I was doing cool niche things in the game, so I was able to kind of ride the wave, the explosion of popularity with Clash of Clans. And then, I hit 1 million subs senior year of high school, which was crazy. That was really fun.
Wow.
It's kind of a weird flex, So that was sick. And then also the year that I graduated high school is the year 2016. It was when Pokemon Go came out. So I moved from San Francisco down to Los Angeles, mainly because the Santa Monica Pier is one of the greatest places in the world for Pokemon Go. So I had to live close to it, of course. Yeah. So
wow.
That's why I moved here, kind of, to be close to the pier.
That's insane. Okay. Yeah. I didn't realize there was so much dedication going on to be a full-time Pokemon Go creator, but that makes perfect sense. Now, I graduated high school before 2010. So,
nice.
2008-ish, that era. So definitely different time frames, but I feel similar where I wish I was making YouTube or videos when I was in high school. And I knew one kid in my graduating class of 150 who was making YouTube videos, and he's way more popular than I am now because he was just ahead of the curve. And even if his content then wasn't very good, every creative process, it takes time. It's a cycle, so the earlier you start that process of getting your amateur hours out earlier, the better, I guess, if your goal is to be a successful creator. So I'm almost envious in a way that, you were already at this amazing point when you graduated high school. I wasn't even it took me 2 more years after high school to really start thinking about making content or live streaming or anything like that. So, wow, that's
I mean, it's
already mind blowing.
It's still kind of a new thing, right? Content creation, and not, I guess not super new, but
was it cool though? Did your friends, did people in high school think you were cool for that, or okay, so people dogged on you for being a YouTuber?
Well, my content was kind of trash, at the start, just because everyone's is, and for anybody that, just a quick note, anyone that's an aspiring content creator, and you're worried about starting because you're oh no, what kind of videos do I make, or my videos won't be that good, or I don't know how to make a thumbnail, bro. Go back on my YouTube channel, scroll all the way back and look at my old videos. They're literally garbage. And I keep them up Right, right. I keep them up because like it's a good lesson of like everyone starts somewhere, right? Like you have to start you have to be a fool to be able to build up to be a master. You know what I'm saying? So like,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, it wasn't cool then. No, I got made fun of a lot for making gaming, but it was pretty bad. Like my family didn't. The only person that was really supportive of it were my parents, my mom and my dad. Everyone else, like extended family members, teachers of mine, friends of mine, either made fun of me for it or tried to explain to me why I was wasting my life and my time, and that like none of this was ever going anywhere, and it was a waste of time and it was stupid. So it was like either like I was like jokingly made fun of, or it was like kind of aggressive, and like my mom had some issues as well, and it was a crazy thing. And again, this is
Wow.
ironically where we are with NFTs right now, where like you talk about NFTs and you're like, oh, this is a stupid waste of time. You're an idiot. Like which is I talk about this a lot on socials and stuff, but I feel the same energy now about NFTs than that I did with gaming content creation in like 2015, which has been kind of weird to go through like a second time. But yeah, and then now we're in a space where, content creation is like a career for a lot of people. It's a really cool thing. Like kids don't want to be athletes anymore. They want to be TikTok stars or, gaming streamers and stuff. So we live in really cool times for sure, which is why I think all this like NFT gaming stuff, it's like, it's all happening at a really cool intersection of, where technology is going. It's just fun.
Yeah.
It's just cool.
No, I love to hear that because I feel very similar, like the early esports days. Like 2010 is really when I got my first dose of esports, mostly with the launch of StarCraft 2 and Major League Gaming, like going to MLG tournaments in North America. That was all I could afford to go to because it was domestic for me as a college student in southern New Jersey. Cool. So the vibes were kind of similar to what you're describing. And in my real world, like I have a degree in business. So people were telling me like, this is never going to work. No one's ever going to get paid to play video games, or no one's ever going to pay to watch other people play video games. That doesn't make any sense. I had tried to write some business plans about esports and it just got rejected in university. Those old professors that were teaching innovation courses were just not, I think they saw it as an excuse to quote, play video games all day. Right. And that was the way they explained it. Like, you got to come up with a real business, man. You can't just do dream world stuff. That's not really how it works. And to be fair, it was so new that there weren't like a lot of data sources to choose from. Like, I didn't really have much to make my case, but what I should have been more confident in saying is like, I've been to one of these tournaments. I've seen the energy. There's something palpable. That's the gap that you're missing. It took me a few years to understand that was the gap that I was sensing. Everything was just so raw and so little of it made sense. Like, nobody was making any money really, except the developers, and everybody was putting more than a full time's worth of effort into it. There were people quitting jobs to pursue StarCraft, casting, playing, content creation, whatever. It was a very strange time. And it was just as Twitch TV was being born and coming up. Like when we started in StarCraft, it was still Justin TV. So it was hard to even explain to people that like the broadcasting platforms weren't there yet either. So anyway, a lot of parallels and a lot of skepticism, a lot of like family members, friends, and people in my professional world saying that, yeah, this is never going to work. You're wasting your time. And that was part of what made it so sweet when this stuff started to take off. So I agree with you about NFT gaming. If you've been around long enough, you've seen this kind of FUD cycle before, and it starts to look eerily similar, and that gives you a whole different kind of frame of reference for having confidence building on this new tech.
And I think that's like a cool thing that I mean, where you're coming from is so cool that you were like in esports 2010 and like you really saw like the creation, like the genesis birth of all this stuff. I think a lot of people that are jumping into this industry are people who have been through these cycles and like, everyone knows who Gary Vee is, right? But like he was kind of the one who opened my eyes really initially to like to NFTs and all this kind of stuff, because I was like a big like entrepreneur type and I love this content. But like something that like really got me that he talked about a lot was what we're talking about here of like, like he saw this happen before with the internet where people thought it was stupid and it was dumb and it didn't have use cases and it was like the wild, wild west. And then, look where we are now. Right. And it sounds like a lot of people who are coming into the NFT space kind of have that similar mindset of like, have been through some sort of cool tech boom. And have seen, like you said, the FUD cycles and are recognizing crypto and NFTs as kind of like the next big tech boom. And we're like right in the start of it where the FUD is all, where like you get canceled for talking about it. So like, it is really cool to hear like more people kind of come out of that perspective of like, I've seen this before with other things and this is really similar,
It's also
So
a weird time for the tech where there's a lot of things that are failing, not because they're a scam or they were designed to do poorly. It's just a failed experiment because you don't know
right,
what you don't know. That's part of trailblazing and building on the bleeding edge. You try some stuff and it doesn't work. You try some other stuff, it does work. You double down on the things that are good. You do less of the things that aren't so good. This is just basic R&D. You know, this is how
right.
research and development works. And it's an exciting and scary time, right? High risk, high reward. If you find something that works, you can be ahead of the curve, but you have to be really careful for stuff that even well-intentioned can end up being poorly designed. A good
Yep.
example of that in the Axie space, I think we've talked about this with land a little bit. At first, you know, years ago in its conception, the idea was tokenize everything. Every
Yeah.
resource is a token and it's all going to be NFTs. And this is, you know, the pinnacle of what NFTs are for. And, you know, a few years removed from that, you start to realize that maybe some soul-bound mechanics are actually a good thing. Some things that can only be unlocked by putting the hours in or having like a proof of gameplay type backing to it. And then that's not sellable. If you can just buy everything in the game, it kind of starts to become a bit of a whales game or something that is borderline pay to win and harder to
Right.
calibrate. But I think we're seeing really one of the most powerful levers to calibrate these economies is having a meaningful balance of both, where you have some traditional centralized game mechanics mixed in with some decentralized tokens and things that are available for sale on an open market. And it's all, you know, a spectrum of improving ownership in the gaming experience. It's not this
Yeah.
binary yes or no, centralized or decentralized. It's a happy intersection of the two of them that kind of takes the best of both worlds. I think that's the dream model we need to work towards.
Well, for sure. And that just seems like to be the case. I mean, since when is an extreme ever the best answer? You know what I'm saying? Like, that just seems, and I think that's one thing that like I really, really like about, you know, Sky Mavis and Axie Infinity is the fact that like, not only are you guys trailblazing this entire world of play to earn gaming and play and earn gaming and NFT gaming, but also, you know, you're like hyper aware of what you just said of like, we don't know what works and what doesn't work until we try it out. You know what I'm saying? And when we figure out what doesn't work, like we pivot, right? I think the fact that you guys are coming in with an open mind and doing that with you know your model in the game and everything, like bullish, I guess is a funny word to use for it, but like you know it's just a nice thing to see, because there are a lot of maxis in this industry and there are a lot of anti maxis, I guess, too, people who are like, you know, blockchain and cryptos, like you have Steam, right, banning blockchain gaming. Okay, for one, that was why. Like, there's no games. What are you even banning? You're not even banning anything. Two, you're gonna eat your words in 5 years. Like, that was just what is this? Oh god. So you got that, you know what I'm saying? And then you've got other people who are like, you know, full NFTs, full crypto, like right, like you said, like there's a nice intersection between the two where like a harmony will be found, you know, and like, you know, games will work, and that's why I just say it's such an exciting time, because like we are right at the beginning, you know, there's a ton of new games coming out from other devs, and you guys have V3 and Origins right around the corner here, which is going to be, I mean, I can't wait. And I know that the Axie community can't wait. And, you know, if there's any alpha you want to tease while we're sitting here, you know what I'm saying? That'd be kind of cool. But like, it's sick.
No, it is a really cool time, and I'm glad that we share some enthusiasm, not just around Axie Origin, but like where the space is at. I mean, even take a step back for Axie for a moment. People think very linearly about now, and they associate like the Axie universe with the current Axie card game that we have right now, version 2, or what we're going to call in the future Axie Classic is kind of what this is.
Cool. Okay.
Updating names: Axie Origin, Axie Classic. I think it's better than V2, V3, and then the original will be Axie Auto Battles. You know, pretty straightforward. The original, just pretty automated gameplay style. Oh gosh, I've lost my train of thought. I said auto battles, and then all these auto battle visions flashed up in my head, and I totally derailed myself. Where was I going?
My time. Where were you?
Save me.
Man, I was following along, you know, but I don't know where you were going, but I was on that train with you. But no, I mean, I think that like just where Axie is evolving into is very cool. And like you were saying that a lot of people have like this mindset of like correlating the whole thing
Axie
with
universe.
Right now.
Yes,
right.
There it is. So like the universe is maybe like 20% deployed, something like that. The current like Axie Classic isn't even the final iteration of the Axie card game. We want the card game to be this competitive, you know, there's Magic the Gathering, there's Hearthstone, there's all these different kind of esport type, is Magic an esport? It's sort of a physical card sport, but you know what I mean. Within that
Right.
realm of competitive card games, that's what Axie Origin will be. That's Axie Battles. But once land is out, once these other builders programs concepts are off the ground, and you've got tower defenses and racing games and all these different like mini game type categories, and maybe even you build some other competitive categories, like if somebody wants to build a MOBA or a first person shooter on top of that IP, right? It really starts to expand outwards. That's the Axie universe. It's a lot of experiences for a lot of different gamer archetypes, and we want there to be something for everyone. Now, of course, it's going to take a while to get there. It's going to take us years, literally, to have the full universe deployed. But I think it's just important to remember that framing of this isn't even just the alpha version of Axie. This is the alpha of one little part of the Axie universe. So we definitely think about it on a really big picture and like a long-term scale. Certainly have to think about the short term also. But that's really where we're at. If you look at like the bell curve of like the product arc of this thing, we're like, we're in the very first starter. We're just ramping up, dude. We haven't even gotten this thing off the ground yet. Engines are just getting started.
Right. Well, and
not even an exaggeration.
You already have so much, and you have like the Ronin network and everything. Like there's so much that you like. The foundation that I think you guys have built is really, really impressive to see, especially from like a gaming, like coming from gaming, like looking at, because like, where I come from, when people played video games in my days, it's just a game. You know what I'm saying? Like all you have is game. You don't have to worry about an economy. You don't have to worry about a new blockchain. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to worry about like wallets and everything. Like there's so much more deep back end tech that you guys are having to build out just because of the nature of a crypto game. And I think what you've been able to accomplish so far is just insane. Actually, one of my uncles is like working with a firm that works with I have like Sky Mavis and Axie is like, it's in the Web 2 world, it's in the VC world, it's in the like a lot of people in a lot of places know about it. You guys have really, really made some waves, which I think is cool. And like, yeah, right. I think a problem with this space, because I've been like super duper NFT degen for like a couple months now. I think a problem with the space, obviously, is that like, everyone's like very hyper focused on right now. I think we are naturally as people pretty hyper focused on the now. That's just kind of like it's just like an evolutionary instinct of ours. You know what I'm saying? To be just really concerned and focused on like with what's happening right now in the world, which is why people and philosophers always say to like have perspective, zoom out a little bit, or like, like don't worry about right now because things will improve. It's hard for us to do that. But I think in crypto, it's even harder just because it's like, it's just such the nature of the crypto space, right? Because it's so volatile, things move up and down so quickly. And then obviously it's a financial game too, where like it's for maybe not for everyone in Axie specifically, but like for a lot of the crypto space, like if you're not hyper focused on right now and the moves of right now, like you could get wrecked. You know what I'm saying? So like, I think the difficult part is merging the culture of crypto and the culture of gaming, because to make a great game, it takes a long time, and it really does. And the fact that you just have all this out already is so cool to see.
Yeah, there's so many great games that exist on the market just in general, not crypto related, but historically, all of us have got here because we've played like World of Warcraft, League of Legends, Dota, Counter-Strike, right? Call of Duty. We all have like hundreds of hours in some of these games, thousands of hours even. So sometimes people compare that standard to where we're at with NFT gaming. And it's like, well, we've got to build all this from the ground up, and you have to build all of it with a player economy in mind and with the blockchain. It's just a totally different set of challenges. And that makes things a little unpredictable and inevitably a little bit slower. But I want to hone in maybe a little bit on like messaging, because I think as a content creator that exists in the Web 2 space and trying to switch to Web 3, it's hard because the Web 3 people don't see you as one of them because you're a Web 2 guy. And if you do anything Web 3 related, your existing audience clearly starts to revolt a little bit. I mean, I definitely experienced that switching from Dota to Axie full time. I did the Band-Aid, I just ripped it off and said, I'm going to lose a bunch, but I'm going to gain a bunch. And hopefully this is a move for the future and a move for the better. How are you approaching that? And how do you approach like crypto sponsorships, like that's something that I think has been very under talked about, given how big of a deal it is relative to the ethics around the messaging and making sure that you're giving people good advice, that you're not giving financial advice. I mean, there's so much to unpack there,
It's a lot. And it's funny too, because I've been having on and off conversations with other Web2 content creator friends of mine who are also very big into NFTs and interested in NFT gaming, who also can't really talk about this to their audiences because it's so, not only is it like a taboo concept, but like we live in just a weird time in society right now to where like if something goes against the grain, it's like evil. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's like medieval times, when like medieval religious times, where like if anything wasn't Christian, it was burned at the stake. You know, which is just not a good way of thinking. You know, and it was actually in breaking that way of thinking which unlocked the Enlightenment and like this, you know, moving into a modern world. So it's really weird to watch us like, I don't know, like cognitively roll back 700 years. I don't get it, but like, yeah. So it's just tough, right? So like messaging is difficult. As like a Web2 person, I sort of kind of poke around, talk about it a little bit like on my Twitter, but I try not to, like, I don't go full Web3 NFT just because like, right, like I would lose a lot of my active audience, you know, and like I'm known for Web2 gaming and I'm known for Pokemon Go specifically. So if I stray too far away from what I'm known for into a territory that people don't want to be a part of, then like, you know, like, I don't know, I think influence is really, really important when it comes to being a content creator. And I think when it comes to, you know, doing better for the world or making the world a better place, I think the influence that you have is really, really important, whether that be, you know, the influence that you have amongst your friend group as a good person, or the influence you have as a content creator in terms of reach, right? Like the influence that you carry on your shoulders is really, really important to making a difference to the world. So I just think it's so difficult as a Web2 person, because like I see Web3 really is the future of gaming, and there's a lot of potential here. But if I were to go too deep into it, I would lose a lot of my influence in Web2, which would make it would make my ability to do more in the world less, if that makes sense, because I would have less influence. I would, you know, like I'd stifle my own influence. So it's like this weird balancing act game of like poke at it a little bit, play with it a little bit, you know, like slowly, very slowly, bit by bit, piece by piece, introduce my audience to stuff. You know, because I think a big problem with Web3 people is that they come off very preachy. And you know, if you've ever walked along the Santa Monica Pier and there was a guy on a soapbox yelling about how either you repent or you go to hell, you don't listen to that guy, and you're not, you know, you're not enlightened when you hear him. You know, it's not a fun thing to be told. You respond very negatively, you know, and I see Web3 and NFTs is the same way of like, if you go to Web2 people who don't understand it or don't like it, and you try to like really shove that narrative down their throat, they're going to even, you know, they're going to be even further against it. Right. So I don't know. It is really tough. So what I'm doing basically is on Twitter, like I'll tweet about some things, you know what I'm saying? I'll you know, tweet about my thoughts. Like when stuff happens in like NFT and gaming that I think is really cool, I'll tweet about it. Like Dr. Disrespect, you know, he's got a new gaming studio and they're doing NFTs. That's a really big deal. 100 Thieves. They had 750,000 people claim their free NFT. That's a big deal. So like, you know, like stuff like this I'll talk about, and some thoughts about NFT and Zane gaming I'll talk about on my YouTube channel, like my main one, my big one. I really won't talk about stuff much at all. I'll bring it up, I'll meme about it, like meme about NFTs. And I'll sometimes talk about how I'm making other videos on other channels, but I won't promote it that hard. I think what I'm trying to do is build a Web3 native audience pretty much from the ground up, and not focus too much on converting my Web2 audience over yet, because I just don't think it's time. I have a crypto channel that I'm making YouTube videos on, and I barely promote that channel. Barely. I have a second channel that I've used over the years for various types of content that I'm making like Web3 gaming content on. And although like that audience there is generally Web2, that channel's been dead for a while. So I'm kind of reviving it with new Web3 content, but like not really promoting it to my main audience much, just kind of like uploading things and then like letting them ride and trying to organically build up a community in Web3. Because it is near impossible to convert. It is impossible to convert a fully Web2 audience to Web3 content right now. It just can't happen, unfortunately.
No, I think that's very astute. And I think that's a great approach where it keeps it separate. It doesn't really upset the existing audience too much. And it's always there for you to promote when it's ready or when it makes sense, or you have a banger piece of content that could actually cross over. And I also appreciate it because I don't think this is something that's going to be solved by any one person, right? We have to decentralize the approach, and it's really a massive network effect of more things having blockchain rails or being blockchain adjacent. The more things like Twitter, where you can use an actual NFT as your PFP. You know, people still kind of mock that as like it's stupid or not a big deal.
Silence hexagon.
Yeah, it's just one more thing, right? And eventually there is a tipping point with additional things where like, hey, I can actually do stuff with these NFTs now. These profile pictures are actually verifiable profile pictures that exist cross major platform. Instagram announced they're about to go ham with NFTs in some sort. And you have to imagine like a profile picture integration is a pretty basic example of that kind of offering. So yeah, it is pretty exciting. And I do agree with you that a lot of blockchain people are too aggressive and overselling what blockchain can do. I've said this many times, but my line that cuts through to at least get a couple minutes of people's attention is 90% of crypto is a scam, but that 10% that isn't has some of the best minds of the world building the future of tomorrow. When I say that to people, they'll at least stop and go, man, this guy thinks 90% of it's shit. He's way more aligned with me than anyone else I've ever talked to that says they like blockchain. So like that gives you a little bit of time. And then you have to kind of fish for what their blind spot is and go, okay, is it the environmental thing? Okay, well, here's a quick understanding of proof of work and proof of stake and how some things are moving away from that. And it's not all the same. And, Bitcoin is its own thing. And, I'm over here on Ronin and it's a totally different thing, but it's still blockchain. And if that's really their blind spot, you get another 2 minutes on the clock. And then you get to see how far you can go down that rabbit hole before you lose them. To me, that's been the winning strategy. And
I like
that's not, it's great, but it's not scalable. It's very like, one-on-one, you have my full attention. I think it's hard to encapsulate that in a tweet or like a series of YouTube videos because everybody has a different blind spot.
Yeah. I wanted to return to the point that you made of messaging because I didn't really hit that much, but that was perfect. And I think that is a very, very difficult spot. And it's hard too for someone like myself. Like I'm not like an environmentalist. I'm not like a blockchain tech. Like I don't really know the solutions or answers to a lot of these. Are NFTs a scam? It's like, well, how do you answer that question? Because it's just like it's an incomplete question to begin with. Like where do we even find it? Like what are you really asking? When you say that, or like, are NFTs bad for the environment? It's like, well, like yes, they are, but like they're not on certain. It's very situational. And then also, since when is any new technology ever optimized for the environment? We wouldn't be here today using modern technology if any time a new tech came out, we were like, oh, the environment, like that. We'd still be playing with sticks. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just not how it works, right? Like that's not how like progression works. Like you make the technology and then you green it later. You green it, you make it more environmentally friendly with time. And I think crypto is doing that faster than almost any new technology ever has, which is great. But like, yeah, right. So it's like, I guess a question for you is someone like myself who I have a large Web2 audience and I would love to, in a very, intelligent, articulate, I guess, careful way, at least educate, maybe not convert, because that's kind of again, there will be, I think use cases will convert, not words so much, right? People need to experience to believe, like we can explain how great blockchain is to 1 million people. And like the likelihood of many of those people actually converting over is just low because like, they're like, okay, that sounds too good to be true. And then that's where they end off in their mind. Right. But if you can like get technology in their hands that they can actually use and like they can see the use case for, which I think personally, I think gaming will be the #1 crypto NFT onboarding platform that will ever exist ever. Because in my opinion, gaming is the #1 best use case for NFTs ever. I can't see a better one than gaming. And 2, there is no way to onboard people in a scalable way the way you can with gaming, with anything, because you gamify anything and it works really well. That's just how our brains work, right? But like, I guess, sorry, reeling it back. For someone like myself, who's Web2 native, I don't know everything about Web3. I have a big Web2 audience. Like how can I go about, I guess, tiptoeing around, NFTs and crypto to at least get people, maybe interested or maybe away from hating it so much,
Yeah, no, that's the $1 million question right there. $1 billion question, maybe. I love the way you portrayed that though, of like, you can kind of gamify anything and that makes it more appealing because that's sort of how humans work. And that's such a great meta articulation of like why gaming is gaming and why like almost anyone who has access to technology is now a gamer to some degree with like even simple games that you have access to on phones or virtually any device. And even in places where people don't have technology, guess what? They still play games. You can play checkers with sticks and rocks and stuff, right? It's just innate to humanity. So super bullish in general.
Right.
But you're right. It's this crazy polarized thing that in mass you have to create like something that can resonate with everyone. You have to sort of touch the environmental side. It's like, all right, I have 60 seconds to touch on like 10 really big, heavy points that could easily be like hour-long by themselves. I get people to like not too immediately when they hear the letters NFT? I think that's a really good first question. And I'm still trying to figure that out myself. I heard one of my real life friends went to a crypto meetup in Philadelphia, I think. And he was really surprised that in an environment of all people that are super into blockchain, that they would come to a meetup just to talk to other people into blockchain. Of the 25 people there, there's like one other person that knew anything about NFTs, maybe two other people, and nobody that knew anything about NFT gaming or Axie or anything related to the gamification around it. So to me, that really, it's a small sample size and very anecdotal, but it kind of speaks to where we're at with the gaming side and even the application of NFTs. Within blockchain, there's still a lot of people that are just holding Bitcoin on a Coinbase wallet or something like that. And yes, they have crypto if they were to do a survey, but they're not even to the level talking about and the kind of daily interaction of like restaking AXS and like, you know, interacting with, you know, game interfaces and selling Axies and stuff. Like I use my wallets every day at this point. Not a lot of people are on that level. So I think the first step is just recognizing how, like, we're not even early adopters. We're like the ultra crazy early. We're the early adopters of the early adopters of this tech. So I don't mean that as a brag as much as just a reality check of remember that most people have a lot of catching up to do to get to where we are, to have a frame of reference to understand why this stuff is cool. So I think you're right that use cases are really what resonates with people, and trying to show them like, hey, this isn't just like a game swapped in NFTs. Look at me using this thing where this like the NFTs allow me to interact with this system in better ways. So like one example of that is looking at the AXS season rewards. Now that it's like the top 300,000 get paid out, I think you can point to that and show people like, hey, in a traditional game, like traditional esports, there's rising this deep because it's not technically feasible, because you'd have to collect all of this information from all these people that have different banks and different locations that you might not be able to wire all money from every bank to every other bank internationally. It's a real pain in the ass. And you had all the data, the cost to do it is pretty prohibitive. You know, wiring money could be $20 or $30 or $50 in some cases, right? So the nature of blockchain, where your account in the game is also your bank account in terms of your wallet address, we can just automatically go, oh, hit the threshold, hit the button, everybody gets distributed for the season rewards. That's really awesome. That's something people super take for granted, is just like, yeah, thanks for the tokens, no big deal. Dude, that's a game changer. Like esports has always been this thing for 0.0001% of players that get a little tiny bit of the prize pool, and most of it floats up to the top of this like top 50 of best in the world over the course of 5 to 10 years kind of a thing, when we're talking significant esports money. You know, like I won the international sort of thing. That's 5 people per year. It is such a drop in the bucket. 300,000 people just for a season. That's bananas. So I hope it's 300,000. It's in the hundreds of thousands. It's either 100 or 300. I'm kind of spacing on the number. The season's just about to end as well. So anyway, it's just one example that I often think of like, this isn't just, hey, we swapped out credit cards for blockchain transactions. The blockchain lets us do this and make the competitive experience more meaningful for a much wider set of players in alpha.
Well, I think that's one of the biggest things. And like, that's something that, so for example, of like things that I do end up tweeting about this stuff. I think that was like one of the things that is just so like, I guess like, wow to me, like very like light bulb moments of like, okay, when it comes to gaming, right? The only people who make money in the gaming world are developers, content creators, and then professional players. And then, you know, esports teams and managers, and there's like, you know, there's a whole, whatever, there's a lot of people, but like, it really is just a small amount, a very tiny amount of people who actually make money gaming, when everyone on planet Earth with a phone or like a console games, right? So like, why does it have to be that way? You know what I'm saying? And the cool thing with like blockchain gaming is the fact that everyone who participates in the ecosystem and games and plays can at least make some, like, even like if it's like $5 a month, like who cares, brother? It's like, you made $5 for gaming, that's still sick, right? And then for other people, it's hundreds and maybe even thousands. And I think the really cool thing for the super duper competitive types is being a top player in any game ever throughout the history of time has, for the most part, only been a flex, right? Like you have to put a lot of time into it. You have to, in some cases, put a lot of money into it. And like, cool, you know, you're top 100 in the US, like dope. Like, what does that mean? You know, nowadays that could maybe land you esports opportunities, or like, you know, you could maybe pick up some people on Twitch to watch you. But even still, like, it's a very, very small amount of people who actually can monetize their skill level in a video game. And blockchain gaming allows for just that to happen. If you're a top player in the top 100, top 50, you could pay your rent with the amount of money that you get airdrop just for being a top player in some of these games. Like I play some other games. They're like more GameFi games, but like same thing of like, you know, every week or every month, like a snapshot of the leaderboard is taken. And then there's like, you know, a certain amount of rewards distributed to the top players. I play another game that has daily tournaments, and they give out like almost $3,000 a day, $2,000 a day in daily tournament prizes to like top play. You know, like it's really, really cool what you could do to be able to monetize in-game skill just for the average player, you know, because like, man, if you want to be a streamer, it's like you have to be good at the game plus 100 other things. And you have to be super duper lucky that maybe your stream catches steam at some point over the span of like 5 years, right? If you want to be in the esport, it's harder to be an esports professional athlete than it is to be in the NFL. Like statistically speaking, like think about that. You know what I'm saying? Like if you really want to do gaming professionally, or at least monetize your skill in gaming, it is almost impossible. And that's weird because skill is usually, at least high skill, is usually fairly easily monetizable. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how our world works, right? Like, you know, our economy is built to reward skill and expertise, right? That's how it works, I guess. And hopefully that's how it works. How it works a lot of the time, at least. Right, how it's supposed to work. Yeah. Right. But like, you know, for a lot of people and a lot of my friends as well, it's just, you know, like high skill and a lot of dedication, and obviously like, you know, a bit of luck, and like you can find success. But gaming, it's not like that, because it's like the 0.00001% actually are able to find success gaming. Where for everyone else, it's just like a fun thing you do with friends. Like why it's like, why does it have to be like that? And it doesn't, and blockchain opens the door for that. And I think that's a really cool thing. But going over to the messaging and going over to like the conversion of Web 2 to Web 3, that talking point, although it can already be seen in use, and although I think it is an incredible thing, it's just still
not sexy enough.
Early. Yeah. Like, and there's not enough games. You know what I'm saying? There's not enough games for people to be able to see that in. And there's not enough use cases. Right. So like people like us who, you know, I guess get in early, but like people like us who witness this and see this and do get in early and build this stuff, like, you know, at least you guys, I don't know if hopefully, you know, wag me, right? Like hopefully I'll be all right. But like a lot of us are going to do very, very well over the next 5 years, because we will be here building the infrastructure that, you know, creates this next generation of gaming. Right. And it's those kind of people that, you know, you pave the way, right? And like you find success in that. And I just, that's why I think it's such an exciting time, you know what I'm saying? Because if you're involved in this space and you really give it your all and you really focus on it and you really put your energy into it, like I think you will get value back out of it. Like you couldn't imagine, you know. I just think it's a really, another tweet I had is it's just unfortunate that so many people hate this so much, because it's such a good opportunity, man. You know what I'm saying? Like it's going to do so good, so many cool things for so many people over the next 5 years, 10 years, 100 years. Like, oh God. But yeah, I don't know. I ramble a lot, so you just feel free to throw an apple at me or something.
You're totally good, and I think you're right that you communicated it pretty effectively, that even just existing in this space allows you avenues to monetize. Like the conversations I have with these existing esports organizations and teams and players that I'm trying to get over is explaining, like, if you're a top 100 competitor, you're on the cutting edge of the meta. Right. You're really pushing the envelope. People are looking at you to see what you're playing because they want to mimic, you know, somebody who's in the top 100. That gives you a lot of breeding power, right? That allows you to, and there's nothing unethical about this, right? This is all in the chain. People can see what you're playing. But if one day you swap in an Axie or you breed something new and go, wow, this works, you're the first one to breed it. You've got an edge over everyone else who's like following in your footsteps. That's monetizable. There's all of a sudden a surge of the demand on those Axies and a very limited supply. And if you have part of that supply, that's an area where you might be able to make some money off of your ability to crack new combinations in the meta of this game. I think that's part of why people are so excited about Origin. Like you can see it in videos that like Elijah or Indez have made where, hey, I'm going to do this Axie challenge here, you know, 3 random Axies I'm going to play with. As soon as they start winning with those Axies, all of a sudden the floor of that combination steadily starts to rise because 100,000 people all watch the same YouTube video and go, whoa, I want to try that. That looks like a really cool combo. That's going to happen organically, whether or not you're choosing to be on the cutting edge of breeding or not, if you're a leading content creator. So all of these are just more evidence pieces that being a competitive gamer in this space gives you ways to monetize, and then that gives you insulation to teams and like extractive sponsors that want to put money in your pocket now to, you know, milk a lot more leverage out of your brand over the long term. Like you don't have to make those hard decisions that I saw a lot of us in Dota have to make, where they're like, I really don't remember Martin Shkreli. That guy sponsored a Dota team. I know, like, he was that pharma dude. I think he went to jail, or there was some big fraud thing. Yeah, and they're like, we didn't want to take his money, but like we literally were making zero money being a competitive team. He offered to pay our bills and pay us salaries. You're like, you know, you're doing a deal with the devil, but you have to be real with yourself. Like, can I continue in this profession without somebody like this guy to pay the bills?
Right.
So just being able to monetize anything through your time, that has really profound impacts on a basic level. Again, very hard to see. Like, it's hard to, it just took me 2 minutes to explain that on like the highest level, and it's still not really that clear. Making that into a sexy YouTube video that's like, and this helps the average person. Not really, but hey, if you're an aspiring pro that's in the top 500, then you've got a chance. You know, it's still, we need more. I think you're completely right, but all these little data points do start to add up, and I think that's what makes me bullish long term. Is knowing that it's not any one thing. It's like we're just building towards the tipping point, and we'll get there. We'll get there for sure.
Yeah, and one thing that I think is really fun to watch, you know, you guys specifically, Axie and Sky Mavis, build towards is this content creator program. And I wanted to just like talk about this briefly, because there's been so many I don't want to, we don't have to do it too deep, because I'm sure your ears have been filled with all this stuff. But I think it's really cool because I've been chatting with other teams of other, you know, playing on games and NFT games. And that seems to be a big thing that a lot of people are interested in, is like content creator programs and how to do it right. But it's interesting because with a lot of Web 2 games, content creator programs, like I have 2 million subs, right? Like I've played a bunch of these games. Like it's not really that big of a thing. The only companies that I've really seen do it like super duper well, I know Treyarch did it decently with zombies. Supercell did it really, really well, a content creator program with their content creators, like the Clash Royale and Clash of Clans. I wasn't involved because they hated me, but they did it well with the other people. And then Niantic with Pokemon Go, they've done it well too. But it's like, I don't know, it's not as involved as I think it seems to be, and no game really takes in as much advice and as much like I don't know, feedback, I guess, from the content creator side of things as I think many games should, just because a lot of games have investors and they could give a damn about what a content creator says. You know what I'm saying? It's more about like, so like that factors in. But like, I think it's interesting. And then a newer thing that Fortnite really made popular was the creator code, right? Was being able to, like, you know, Fortnite was like, we will take some of the money that we're making and we will distribute it to your favorite content creators, because they understood the value of content creation and how it really drives people using and playing their products in their games, and obviously spending more in the shop. And I think like that was a cool light bulb to watch, because previously a lot of games like Nintendo would strike people if they made YouTube videos on their content and their games, which didn't make sense, because it's like it's free distribution. Like, what are you doing? You know? That was wild. Those were wild times. But and Axie is officially the first game in the Web3 space to not only really, really create and look at a content creation program seriously, but to implement some sort of creator code program. And I think that's interesting. I'd love to hear a little bit more about your kind of like I guess Sky Mavis's thoughts about going about that, because I think like we've said before with top players, the blockchain allows for monetizing in many different ways, right? Whereas with a creator code in Web 2, you know, it's a portion of whatever someone spends in the shop. It's kind of hard to do that in Web 3 because the shop is the marketplace. You know what I'm saying? People aren't buying V-Bucks, right? So like, it's very different.
A lot of great points there, and I appreciate your perspective on this a lot as someone who's worked with so many different creator programs. I think the first point to acknowledge here is that we screwed up the messaging really bad with this one, and it's sort of two fundamental ways. The first one was the way we basically said taxes are going up, we're going to increase the percentage from the marketplace. Details on why coming soon. That's a really bad message, right? There's no positive scenario. At best, creators are neutral to it, and on average most of them are pretty negative, because they're like, wait, market fees are going up, but I don't understand what we're getting. There's no win condition. There's nothing for people to rally behind with a statement like that. So we gave you the bad news without the good news. Big mistake there. Lesson learned. The other, I think, was realizing that we were sort of combining two concepts, as you said, the creator code and like a referral program. And we sort of confused the messaging and blurred them together. And I think that led people down to a lot of different conclusions and assumptions because they are kind of different things. A referral code is something that everybody gets. It's like the kind of thing, like it's automated. It's like your username and somebody can put it in there and then you get a little kickback for whatever they spend into the market, however you design it. It's very straightforward. Everybody gets it. Content creators can use it. Non-content creators can use it. You can onboard your dad with it.
Right.
Super open-ended, not complicated at all. Then there's the creator program, which is sort of designed to be something that had, in theory, tiers to it, something where our different content creators can start working their way up the ladder and get various perks as they climb, different merch packages, maybe access to Sky Mavis employees for content creation, maybe collaborations on things. And there'd be different tiers depending on your size or your reach or, how closely we work with you, maybe a number of different parameters, right? So I think breaking those two concepts apart, we have a much more targeted conversation about what these two different things are trying to achieve and how we should build around them. So all of that seems really obvious now. And after we've had all this feedback from users, it did end up being a really great little use case, or not use case, but example of, the DAO concept kind of in work, where we're collecting all this feedback and sort of having a public conversation about it. It is a little overwhelming at times, but I think we are pretty close to distilling that into something and then having that ready to present to the community. So I don't want to spoil that because it isn't necessarily my department alone in charge of that. But it was a really interesting process to see that reaction. And as to circle back where we started, messaging is hard, even within the space. To the people that understand the technology, getting the messaging right is challenging at times. So I think it'll be good to separate those out and recognize that referral codes are sort of like you said, they're just sort of a thing that exists. It's not that big of a deal. The creator program requires a lot more nuance. And of course, who gets to join it and what are the parameters to move up? Is it view based? Is it, quality of content based? How do you make sure people don't fall through the net and the appropriate people get rewarded within the system? I think that's the really interesting and tricky part of building a good creator program. So details coming. Sorry to be a tease. But does that make sense though? Does that resonate? I'm curious if that's sounds on point to you.
No, it does, and I think like the meta message is the fact that that you guys are taking this seriously, right? It's very obvious that this isn't just some random little thing you're just little feature you're going to throw out and then kind of let it run on its own, kind of forget about it. This is something that you're taking a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of intention with, which I think as a content creator, that's really cool to see, because companies, again, a lot of gaming companies, will sort of create some sort of creator program and then they'll just kind of never update it, or it just won't be that good, or they don't really care about it. And it seems like you guys have a much different approach of how you value your content creation and your community, which I think is just really cool to see. So I know that I'm confident that you will have the right system and a good system just because of how serious you're taking it, which is just weirdly, again, cool to see.
I think it also, you try to copy some Web 2 stuff that works, but you realize it's not all one-to-one. And in this space, I think we messed up a little bit by, this is going to sound weird, but I think there was a quote that somebody put out there in one of the posts of creators are the backbone of the Axie economy. And while that sounds like a really nice statement, it's a little bit backhanded to people that aren't creators in Axie. The breeders would probably say, hey, we're the backbone of the economy. The esports guilds would say, whoa, wait a second, we're the backbone. We're all the backbone of the economy. Creators are really important, but so are all of these other groups. And it's just in a game where 90% of the capital in the economy is in the hands of the players, right? Our take rate only comes from the marketplace percentage and the breeding fees. That inverts the model. Most developers, it's the other way, where the take rate's 90% for the developer.
Right.
So the system just works completely differently. And it's not as simple as saying, hey, these content creators are making a bunch of stuff. Let's give them some codes and some rewards. And there's like, people want to watch them so bad, it'll just be a net gain kind of on our marketing budget as a developer. For us, it's this balancing an entire ecosystem of all these players that all contribute value, all have opportunities to extract value. So we have to create incentives to keep that all running in harmony. And I think it'll be like a Lunasian code, something like that, because
that's cool.
By calling it a creator code, one of the questions I got as the esports guy was, am I a creator if I run tournaments? It's just like,
right.
Kind of. Yes, you do. You are a nexus point for content. Would I classify you as a content creator? No, you're not a YouTuber. You're not the same as like what Bryce does, but I value you. I value the content that you help create. And hell yeah, dude. Of course you're
right.
Code. Like, that's the whole point. Yeah. People like you are exactly who we want to reward. So it just seems like that nomenclature was also a mistake, and it needed to be more general. And of course, all of esports is part of content creation, just to make that abundantly clear. I don't want anyone to be confused. So yeah, we learned a lot of lessons on that one. And again, some of that I think was maybe a little bit hard to see right away, because you feel like, hey, we're rewarding creators. Creators are so great, but it's bigger than that. It's more than just creators,
which is awesome. Yeah. Again, and I am really excited to see what you all build, because you definitely are, on the forefront of what a creator program in Web3 looks like. You guys will build that model out, so it'll be really exciting to see for sure. I'm excited.
Yeah. Awesome. So we've got just a couple minutes left here, Mystic. This has been so much fun to chat with you and get to pick your brain a bit. What's bumming you out right now? Is there anything like in the Web3 gaming space or like in the Axie space that like has you profoundly nervous, or anything like, it's easy to talk about the positives and the potential, but what about the here and now? What's bringing you down, dude?
I just think that like the scariest thing is like the economic part of the game, one, being too big a part of the game, and then two, not working, right? Because if people only play a game for the economic value of it, and then the economic value dissipates, because it will over time naturally, just because every game dies except Minecraft. You know what I'm saying? Like not saying that Axie is dead or going to die, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and also like Pokemon Go freaking died like 4 times and we're still here somehow. I don't know, but like
things have product cycles though. That's like an inevitable part of life. Yeah. 100%.
Games go up and down in popularity. You know what I'm saying? That just happens, right? Games can last a lifetime, but there'll be points where they're unpopular, and when you attach an economy to that, that doesn't just mean like, oh, less people are playing the game. It means, oh no, like, my stock portfolio is down, right? Like the economic value of the game is down. So I think the really difficult part that's going to happen with these Web3 games is trying to find a balance between like, making a cool economy that could really reward players, which I think is awesome. Because also too, gaming has never in its history ever done what Axie Infinity has done. Like being able to supply an economic economic anything for the average person and player. Never has gaming ever done that before in the history of humanity. And I think that's a really, really cool point to at least appreciate, even if even if it, didn't work for a lifetime, like who cares? Like the fact that it even happened on like the first trial run, like that's nuts. You know what I'm saying? Like that there is such cool implications for that, for the future of people, right? That is so cool. But that aside, I just, the one thing that makes me the most nervous is that, because like if Web2 gamers come in and see this and they play around with it and then they get wrecked, you know what I'm saying? Like they'll never, like people don't trust things after they get wrecked. You know what I'm saying? So like if people look at, the ideal situation is Web3 gaming becomes gaming, right? But for that to happen, Web2 has to convert to Web3. For that to happen, people need to trust it. You know what I'm saying? And if it just seems too much about the money, or if it just seems like, oh, if like when the game becomes unpopular, everyone's just gonna be broke. Like if that's like the general consensus, like that's gonna really hurt crypto gaming in the long run. So I think that's what I'm most nervous about. But what makes me excited is, not only again, I'm chatting with a lot of teams and a lot of other games and stuff, and everyone has that on their mind, and that's like the forefront of their mind of like, we don't want that to happen with the game. And Axie, again, you guys are the freaking at the forefront of all this. You're the main builders of all this, and that seems to be at the forefront of your mind as well, of making a sustainable game long term, a sustainable economy. The fact that you're even thinking about it as hard as you are and trying to fix problems as hard as you, like, it's just so that is my biggest concern in NFT gaming, and it's not that big of a concern because I know people are on it and very smart people are on it. I know you guys are on it, and I can't wait to see again V3 Origins. Can't wait to see what goes down because I'm sure there'll be some fun things implemented that will I guess help economically or with the game or balance out economics in game. I think that's a really important thing. And a lot of people are talking about it, you know what I'm saying? So it's not like a concept that no one knows about. So
it's a delicate time though. It really is. I think you're totally right. You only get one first impression. A lot of people's first impressions have already been made. So it is limited the amount of chances people will give new technology like this. And if their first couple goes are just objectively negative, you just lose money or things, break or don't work, it's scary. So I want to see all of these projects with good intentions find some success. I want Axie to grow and continue leading the ship, but I want the whole ship to grow because NFT gaming in general is being staked here. And there needs to be more than just Axie. There needs to be a lot of different experiences for a lot of different gamers. So I'm with you there, man. We need some of these games to come out. Right now there's a lot of stuff being built, and a year from now I think the landscape will look a lot different. And from a traditional gamer's lens, there will be a lot more choices that feel a little more comparable to like the AAA titles that they're used to in the Web 2 space. So we just gotta push through, man. Exciting times in these product cycles.
Exactly. And hey, man, things are up, things are down. I don't care because gaming will be here forever. And I think that NFT and Web3 gaming will be here forever as well. So, we were coming out of like an NFT bear market. Who cares, man? You know what I'm saying? Like NFT gaming, it will be a thing, right? Just keep pushing with it. So again, love what you guys are doing. I'm really excited to see what you guys are creating. And however I could be helpful or be a part of it, let me know because it's going to be freaking sick over the next couple of months. You guys are killing it.
Dude, thank you so much for giving me an hour of your time. Really appreciate it. Hit us with some plugs. Where can people find more of your content? Are you MYSTIC7 everywhere? Where's MYSTIC7 come from, by the way? Is there any significance behind that? Because we've got a Mystic in Axie, the Mystic Scholars. He just goes by no number.
Okay, the node, right? Well, see, I'm jealous. So yeah, it's not the coolest. So 7 was my favorite number, and I joined a Call of Duty clan way back in Black Ops 1, and it was the Mystic Clan. So I needed an adjective. So I was like, okay, there's Mystic, Mystic this guy, Mystic that guy, Mystic left, Mystic right. I'm like, well, I like the number 7, so I'll be MYSTIC7. Then that was the birth of it. And then that is, I swear to God. And the annoying part is that I went to go get the MYSTIC7 YouTube ad, and it was some freaking random bar band in Louisiana who had at MYSTIC7 on YouTube. So my YouTube link is and it has always been MYST lowercase L C7 because I can't put an uppercase I because it's taken. So yeah, that's where MYSTIC7 came from. It's been a struggle.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, yes, MYSTIC7 on Twitter, on Instagram, on oh my God, my Twitch name's a whole different name too. Don't even worry about Twitch. I do Twitch too, but yeah, and on YouTube as well. Now, the cool thing is, I guess the things that are more relevant to this conversation is I have a MYSTIC7 crypto channel, which is NFT focused, and that's where I want to create content to help onboard people. So the how-tos and the guides and stuff. And then I have a MYSTIC7 plays channel where I'll be playing and messing with all these new awesome NFT games coming out, including Origins when it drops. I'm saying I'll be on that. So. Yeah,
dude, can't wait. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about launch days. We get a little bit closer and get you set up. So,
heck yeah,
amazing, dude. Appreciate you so much. Best of luck in all your content creation journeys. We'll see you again sometime soon, folks. Thanks for joining us on another Axie Tuesday. We'll see you again in 2 weeks for the next episode.